Hello, welcome to Art on the Farm with me, Sage and Jan. Today we are going to be painting a pumpkin, and we're going to do it very freestyle together. Before we get started, a few things that you will need. You will need an orange. I would have a yellow, a brown. I keep a white. Whatever you're thinking that you want for the sky color, for some people that may be black or blue, whatever you think you would want for that. And then for the leaves, pick two different shades of green. Pick two different shades of green. Okay. We are very grateful to the Monroe Area Council for the Arts and to the grant that allows us to be able to work with you today. Now remember, when we work together, this is all about having fun, practicing, and learning our skills. So try not to stress at all. If you need to pause the video so that you can work out something artistically, go for it. You want to add or take something away, feel free to do that. You're not going to hurt us at all. All right? Now, I say that this is going to be a very, very free, because we're not going to be following any kind of lines. Go on and put just a little bit of acrylic on an old envelope or a paper plate, whatever it is that you have around you. Probably not just a regular sheet of paper, because that's going to be a little too flimsy. But I use different things all the time. And then you're going to be putting your yellow directly beside your orange. Put your yellow directly beside your orange on your plate. Because you're going to notice that when I take this, my choice here is a flat brush. You're going to want a variety of brushes. So I'm going to take my flat brush and I'm going to dip it so that it is going into both. See that? And I'm going to stand up with this one. I like to move when I'm doing my pumpkins. Okay. I'm going to remember that I'm going to do a stem. So I want to make sure that I leave enough room for that. But I'm going to start right here and make what's like an eyeball. Okay. I'm going to kind of round it right there. This is like a raindrop or a sideways eye. And I'm going to use that as my base. And I'm going to start at the top, go down to the bottom, and come back up every time. Now, notice also that sometimes that may mean that I need to start on one side rather than starting on the other. Dipping back again into my tube. If I think it's getting a little bit thin over here, then I'm going to start with the other side the next time. These strokes should be very free. Just have fun with it. But the motion of your brush is going to be very important. Always trying to maintain that same motion. Okay? Take a look at it. Make sure there's not something that you regret. Because we are not going to be cleaning off our brush, but we are going to be using another color added in. So if there's anything that you want to change, this is your time. Now notice I did something very dangerous. I went straight down there, and I can see, you may not be able to see because of the detail of this video, but I can see that I changed the motion and what draws the eye across the page. I need to be more careful about that. Now I'm going to leave what I have here I'm going to leave what I have, but I'm going to raise it a little bit of brown. Now the brown we are going to put separate. It can be very powerful. And yes, I did choose brown over black because black is even more powerful. If you need to refill this at the time, there are my words, then this is a good time to do it. If you need to pause the video, give yourself some time, that's fine. If not, I've got my two colors again. And now, I mean barely, just barely, I'm going to add just a little bitty bit of the brown. Just a little bitty bit. I'm going to start at the top of my eyeball here. Make sure I have an unobstructed range of motion. So anything else you need to move, move. Start up, coming down. I'm going to meet him right there. Now I have my other side of my pumpkin. Okay. So now that I have it established, this is what I'm going with. Okay. And from there, I'm not going to keep adding my brown. I'm just going to go with this again. I am going to add a little bit of brown there. I lied. I want to well establish that line right there. And I'm going to be pulling out. To arch him out a little bit more. Pumpkin from the field coming on out here. If you get a little torn up because your lines aren't as crisp as you want, just add more to your brush. Be a little more intentional about your edges. It's not that big of a deal. Nothing to get torn up over there. Almost anything can be smoothed and taken care of. Be real careful right here because your impulse is to just go like this and fill it in. Fight the impulse. Be careful to try to protect your center. I've noticed that as I'm doing this, I get excited. And I tend to push in on that center. Try to avoid that. Speaking just as much to myself as I am to you. Alright, so now we have our other side of our pumpkin. Take a second, look at him, say okay. This time I am going to have to go on and refill a little bit. Good time to do that. All I did was reload what I already have. Notice that brown gets really strong, so be careful. We are not going over that center again with this dirty brush because it's got brown. It will ruin the purity of your color, so be careful. Okay, I'm doing my orange and yellow again on my brush. Just a dab. A little dab will do you. Just a little bitty dab. Little bitty dab of the brown. And here I go, ready to establish my last section. I just kind of traced it over there, and then I pull out the fullness of that pumpkin. Oh, how nice. How freeing, how nice. Okay. If you need to get just a little bitty dab, don't go crazy with that brown now. You want a nice fresh pumpkin from the field. You don't want him to be rotting. You just want him to have a little bit of dirt. I got a little brown happy there. Now, once you have it established, be mindful of the outside of your lines. He's not a see-through pumpkin. Should be no white shining through there. And then go with your motion of your ocean here. And build it up. From now on, I'm not adding any of the brown. Once you've got that established, you're only adding your orange and your yellow. Okay. Okay, a nice full pumpkin. I'm going to pull that in closer to you just because of the light. You just see the variety in that color. Got 3 beautiful sections. Now me, for myself, I'm going to lean over here and grab myself a paper towel. I am only going to wipe this brush. I'm not watering it down with water. I'm only going to wipe it, and I'm going to use it for my upper part. I'm going to use my brown that's been dirtied by the other colors for my stem. Okay. So we're going to go up here. Our brown already has a variety here. Plan mentally where you're going with your stem and how big you're making it. I'm going to do this with a combination of lines. Pull down. Okay. I'm noticing that as I do this, a few of my lines are getting a little bit thin. I'm starting to see white through it. As I go over that, I'm going to be very intentional to make sure that I follow my original lines so that I don't take away from what I've created. Never go in here and just fill in like that. No, no, no. We want to maintain the dignity of the line that you just created. Okay. Trying to decide now. And see, I had to fight the impulse to just go in there and do something. So it's hard for me to remember. And I've been doing this for a little while. I expect for it to be hard on somebody that's learning as well. This angle is very difficult for me with my left-handedness here. I think I'm content. If you're not careful, you'll pick yourself to death on tiny little details that once you've messed it up, you'll go, well, now did that really matter now? Well, no, it didn't. Okay. I'm going to go on. I'm going to use that same brown, that same color. Boy, talk about reusing. I'm going to use that same color. I'm going to establish for myself where my ground is. When you're doing your ground line, I want you to think of something called the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds says if there was a grid here, there was a big old tic-tac-toe grid here, you're going to be following the bottom line of that tic-tac-toe grid. So my subject the pumpkin is in the middle of my tic-tac-toe grid. Okay. The bulk of his body is straight in the middle of that tic-tac-toe grid. Where would the bottom line of the tic-tac-toe grid be? You're going to estimate that, and that is where your ground line is going to be. And then the very difficult part, trying to get that as accurate as possible there from one end to the other. Okay. So now I'm going to just barely refill that brown because I don't want to lose the variety in that color. I'm going to fill that in completely. If you've never seen one of our Art on the Farm videos, this is the type of easel that I prefer. It's just a whole lot better for beginners. It has these little bunny ears that go up or down to accommodate your canvas. All I'm doing right now is very, very carefully with my brush, tracing the bottom part of my pumpkin. I'll show you in just a minute. I love a nice, flat, wide brush for this because it helps me cheat a little bit. Makes me look way better than I am. It keeps me from getting too close into that pumpkin. You may find that the most difficult part is this very bottom. That's why I had to take it off of the easel so that I could access that just a little bit. No reason to get torn up about it. Just follow that bottom as best you can. Mistakes are going to happen. You're going to make it through it. It's okay. I just cut off a little bit of my pumpkin tiny. He's going to make it. He's going to be okay. Alright. Now that I've traced all around it, I've done the hard part. I'm just going to fill it in. You can fill it in however you want to. Whether you want to do those nice long strokes, or whether you want to go over while it's still wet and stipple. Create a nice texture. I think that's what I'm going to do. Just make sure you can separate the experienced artists from the people who are learning by whether or not they remember to go all the way off the canvas. Make sure that you remember to go all the way off the canvas. So I'm going to go on and fill that right now. I'm going all the way off. I have a very hard time when I paint leaving it on the easel the whole time. I understand the value of the easel for sure. Don't get me wrong. But I just often want to take it off and change my angles. I'm doing, for myself, just little bitty strokes. I'm not patient enough today to do the stipples. I'm doing kind of a cross in between. I'm doing just these little bitty strokes that go up and down. That's going to give me a little bit of texture that I desire. If you choose to change something like that though, you're doing your little bitty strokes, or make sure that you go in towards your pumpkin enough so that it doesn't look like there's a line and then texture, because that's never good. Almost there. Just a little bit to go right here. Very nice. Now, if you are a person who is wanting to do a leaf, or some little tendrils coming off there, little swirlies with some greens, I'm going to show you how to do that. I think I'm only going to do one though, so pretty content with how this particular pumpkin fills the page. Really. I'm pleased with you, Mr. Pumpkin. I'm very pleased with you, sir. Alright, so let's look at this. I am now going to change to, should be obvious by now, I am one who tends to lean towards a flat brush. If you would like to use a round, that's fine. I will be using a flat brush. I'm going to get my 2 colors. Remember I told you 2 greens, if that was something that you wanted to do. Because my stem is going one direction, trying to decide, I think I'm going to counter it, give it a good balance, having my leaf go the other direction. As I'm putting my 2 greens on my plate, I'm putting them side by side, just like we did our yellow and our orange. Okay? Side by side, just like we did our yellow and our orange. I changed my mind. I'm going to hold on to this brush for just a minute. Instead, I'm going to grab another flat brush. This one is a nice curved tip. I'm going to take that tip. I'm going to put it into my two-toned, my bi-toned green. Okay. I'm going to go right here. And I'm going to have a nice leaf. Just pull. Oh, yes. Right out of the pumpkin. And now you can see why I chose this larger brush. It's going to enable me to come right out. Nice big strokes. Why work harder if you don't have to? You can see my only real problem is getting a crisp end there because it's just such a large brush. And once you have it how you want it, leave it alone. Because that green is so strong, now I'll take the smaller brush. I'm going to dab it into the 2 greens. And I'm going to pull that up with some nice little wisps. And just to counter it, I'm going to do my best to pull from there. Now, because I did these small details, I do not personally want to risk it by taking a brush and going all around this with one solid color. So I'm going to choose one or two colors for my background. For right now, I'm going to start with this nice, it's called a deep turquoise. This is the actual name of this particular color, but each brand is going to give you something different. You may want a completely different color. That's fine. I'm going to take my paper towel. I'm going to dip it in there, but I'm not going to leave it that way. I'm going to come over here to the side. I'm going to soften that up. Try to get a little bit of color off of it. Sounds counterintuitive, I know. And I'm just going to go through here. Whoa! And flip my easel. I'm going to have to create myself a boundary. That's been a problem on this table. Just really nice and soft. You're giving yourself some color. Also giving it a really nice kind of rough farm look. Be very careful or you'll get your brown up in the sky. I've got a little bit of brown in the sky. I'm just roughing up all around here. If you do not trust yourself, I understand. You can dry your pumpkin. Pause the video, dry your pumpkin before you do this. That's fine. Not going to hurt my feelings one little bit. Be aware of your motions. Oh, look at that. Be aware of my motions. Should have dried my stem. So now I'm going to need to make that a part of my look. I'm going to add a little bit of brown over here. Should have been more aware. When you make a mistake like that, find a way to make it look on purpose. Find a way to make it look like that decision was a conscious, on purpose decision. Most of the time, you can. Most of the time, you absolutely can. Make sure you put your name and the date on the back. Make sure you put your name and the date on the back. And we want to again thank the Monroe Area Council for the Arts for the opportunity to make this video. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Art on the Farm. We'll see you next time.